So is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I think we stopped here in the last class. So based on the configuration of the electrodes that are used in construction of supercapacitors, there can be symmetric supercapacitors and asymmetric supercapacitors. Whether EDLC or redox, if the electrodes are identical, it is symmetric supercapacitor. Whereas if the electrodes are asymmetric, hetero, different electrodes, then the resultant supercapacitor device is known as asymmetric supercapacitors. I would say this asymmetric supercapacitor is also known as hybrid supercapacitors. So I think exactly we have stopped here in the last class yesterday. So how to make supercapacitor device? So first we need to make the material, the intended electrode material that you want to use it for supercapacitor fabrication. It may be a carbon-based material or functionalized carbon-based material or oxides, metal oxides, or whether it is a ferrite or non-ferrite, that is different. Sulfides, single oxides, mixed oxides, double oxides, composites, mixed with graphene, reduced graphene oxide, functionalized reduced graphene oxide, or polymers, whatnot. There are several methods available to make materials. In the first semester we have seen, or last semester we have seen, at least more than 25 methods are available. Sol gel, hydrothermal, CVD, PVD, sputtering, reduction precipitation, all those things. Use any one of these methods to make electrode materials. You will preferably get in the form of a powder, or you need to bring in the form of a powder from any other form. Then the powder has to be made as a dough, DOUGH, syrupy, or paste, having some viscosity. How will you make a paste out of a powder? You have to mix with the solvent, easily operating solvent. Along with that, as I told yesterday, you have to add some binder. Preferably used binder is PVD of polyvinyl pyrrolidone, a good binder. Neophene also can be used, of course. Neophene also can be used. And if the electrode materials are not so conducting, for example, most of the transition metal oxides are semiconducting. They are not like metallic. Mostly they are semiconducting, sometimes insulating. Okay, so to make it conducting, you have to add some conducting particles. So then, preferably graphite, or we call it as a super P carbon, or acetylene black, AB. Have you encountered any before acetylene black? Somewhere we have added? Do you remember? Where we have encountered adding acetylene black? Do you remember? Acetylene black. Do you remember acetylene black? Conducting. Huh?
Electrodes in battery.
Yeah, so in the second unit we have seen when you want to make a bopene, which essentially consists of electrode material, conducting particle, and binder. Okay, so that is the acetylene black. The other form of carbons used for enhancing the conductivity are super P carbon, petroleum coke, or the other forms of carbon. Okay, so you have to take it in some proportion. For example, 75% of active material, that is your oxide or your electrode material, maybe carbon also. Then 5% binder, about 5% binder, PVDF or Nafion, and remaining maybe 20% conductivity enhancer, super P carbon, petroleum coke, or acetylene black. So all three are in powder form. Maybe if you use Nafion, you can convert them into syrup also, paste also. So to these three powders mix thoroughly well in a suitable proportion. That's what I told yesterday. So 6 hours of grinding to get the bopine. 8 hours of continuous grinding with the intermittent using of solvent. Solvent like isopropyl alcohol, N-hexane. Acetone, least preferred. Acetone is easy operating compared to isopropanol and N-hexane. N-hexane takes long time. Isopropyl alcohol is ideal solvent. So go on grinding, you will end up with a paste. That paste has to be applied on some current collector or substrate. The current collector or the substrate should be conducting. It may be a carbon cloth, carbon felt, stainless steel, or aluminum foil, or platinum foil if you are affordable, nickel mesh, titanium mesh. These are the usually employed substrates, electrode substrates, on which you have to apply paste. Apply, dry it, then press it in order to reduce the contact resistance as well as the grain boundary resistance. So electrode is ready. Electrode is ready. You make two identical electrodes in order to construct a symmetric device. Or you take another material, apply the same process, you make that electrode also. One electrode is iron oxide, another electrode is a carbon. You will end up with the asymmetric supercapacitors. Before you go for the device fabrication and testing, you have to make sure the material that you are going to use is a EDLC material or Faradaic material. How will you diagnose? So for that you have to make an electrochemical cell which will have 3 electrodes. Your material that you have converted into electrode is termed as a working electrode, WE, working electrode. And to know the potential and control the potential of the working electrode, you need to have a reference electrode. So preferably secondary electrodes are easy to handle compared to the primary reference like normal hydrogen electrode. SEE, saturated calomel electrode, or AgCl are the typically used, or mercury oxide are the typically used electrodes. Then in order to compensate the current, you need to have a counter electrode. So an electrochemical cell will consist of these 3 electrodes usually. Using this electrochemical cell which consists of 3 electrodes, you can do many fundamental measurements like cyclic voltammogram, charge discharge. If you do these 2 experiments, most of the parameters can be obtained. What are the parameters you can obtain? I have already seen. You can evaluate the capacitance or specific capacitance, gravimetric or volumetric. That is areal capacitance or volumetric capacitance or gravimetric capacitance. It's up to your interest. Once you know the capacitance, use the standard energy formula and power formula of CV square E by T you can obtain specific energy and specific power. Okay, that is for 2-electrode system. I should complete here. So you have a 3-electrode, you run the cyclic voltammogram. So then you look at the cyclic voltammogram, how it is. If the cyclic voltammogram is like this, we see rectangular cyclic voltammogram. The appearance of this rectangular cyclic voltammogram having no redox peaks implies that the electrode material that you have prepared or the material that you are going to use it for supercapacitor will behave as a EDLC because there are no peaks. Whatever the current or the charge that is responded is because of the charge separation at the electrode and the electrolyte interface. No redox reactions taking place. Whereas if you are getting peaks, or if you are getting a peak, one peak, and if the peaks are reversible, preferably it should be for a better electrode. It means that there is a redox reactions taking place and the electrode material can be called as a Faradaic material. It may be a battery or non-battery material. If it happen to be manganese oxide happen to be a battery material. It can also be used for supercapacitor. Whereas ruthenium oxide is not a battery material, but it will have some features. Similarly, maybe nickel oxide. It's not typical battery electrode, but it can show some peak. You can name it as a Faradaic material. Cobalt oxide, some polymers. You see here, these are all polymer. Polyaniline. Along with that, graphene oxide, reduced graphene oxide, functionalized reduced graphene oxides are added. You get more than one peak sometimes. Larger the number of peaks, more the number of peaks, higher the charge storage you can expect. Because all the redox reactions will contribute to the charge storage. Are you with me? Can I go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah, so that is the best diagnosis. So you take a 3-electrode system and run the cyclic voltammogram and look at the cyclic voltammogram pattern and see whether they are rectangular having no redox peak or whether they have some peak. Cyclic voltammogram having no peaks implies that the electrode material is EDLC. I'm sure all the carbon materials, if they don't have any functional group, will show this kind of rectangular CV. It may not be a perfect rectangular, it may be elliptoid, but there will not be any peak. Whereas Faradaic material, redox material, battery materials will show something. We have already seen the distinction between supercapacitor and batteries. Sometimes it may show more than one peak, which implies that more than one redox reaction is taking place. Having more redox reaction is advantage for a better charge storage. That is cyclic voltammogram using 3-electrode system. You can infer, you can know. So then, after doing cyclic voltammogram, you can also do charge-discharge profile, charge-discharge curves, galvanostatic charge-discharge curves. So apply a constant current, start recording the potential response of the 3-electrode. During charging, potential of the cell will increase. During discharging, potential of the cell will decrease. So you need to have some fixed potential. Depending on the electrode, depending on the electrolyte, very much electrolyte, there should be a defined potential window. So if it is a water-based electrolyte, the potential window should be between preferably 0.8 to -1 voltage. or minus 0.8. You can also point minus 0.9, minus 1, you can go, but there will be some evolution of hydrogen. You cannot go beyond minus plus zero 0.8. There will be an evolution of oxygen. So even at minus 1, there will be evolution of hydrogen. If it is a water-based electrolyte, the preferable potential window is between plus 8 to minus 8 in 3 electrode system. You run the cyclic voltammogram as well as the CD, charge discharge profile. Then use these standard formulas to estimate the charge discharge characteristic, capacitance, energy density, and power densities for devices, 2 electrode system. So for 3 electrode system, you can stop at a cyclic voltammogram and a charge discharge and know whether it is EDLC or redox material. Then go for 2 electrode device fabrication. Actual supercapacitor device will have only 2 electrodes, not 3 electrodes. For that, maybe you can do say CV, definitely you have to do charge discharge. From that charge discharge profile only, you will be able to estimate the capacitance, specific energy, specific power. Excuse me. Where did I stop? Where did I stop?
Sir,
Hello?
two-cell capacitor and shunt capacitor.
Yeah, so yeah, device will have 2 electrodes and all fundamental you can do with 3 electrode system. Okay, yeah. So this point. So many people mistakenly estimate the energy density, power density from the 3 electrode system. And many good papers are also published. I don't agree with that. This has been going on for last 10 years, but now people are changing. Estimation of energy density and power density is appropriate if you use the device, that is 2 electrode systems. Okay, this is general protocol to make a solid state supercapacitor or flexible supercapacitors. So many a time supercapacitors are required to be integrated with the circuits. You know, circuits are bendable, wearable, flexible, etc. For that, if you have a coin cell, it will not be possible to bend it. You need to have a flexible supercapacitor so that along with the circuit, it can be bended or maybe wearable, etc. Flexible supercapacitors. So for that, preferably you need to have a carbon cloth. Carbon cloth. From the carbon, you can make like a cloth. It would look like exactly cloth. Only the color is black. So unfortunately, that cloth is having hydrophobic nature. It will not get wet with the water. So first you have to activate it. You have to etch the surfaces to become hydrophilic, water loving, so that when you immerse in the electrolyte, so it will become wet. So treat with the sulfuric acid initially, then you get a fresh electrode surface, substrate. On that, you have to apply this electrode material or the mass. So to prepare a solid state or wearable or bendable, flexible supercapacitor, so this is the composition you need to use. You need to make a slurry, which will consist of electrode material, carbon, super P carbon or Australian black, PVDF. Okay, then that is the dough. you need to have an electrolyte. In the case of a normal liquid-based electrolyte, you can directly take KOH. But here you want to make a solid-state device, flexible, bendable, wearable. So you take another polymer, PBA, polyvinyl acrylene, add 1:3 ratio or some ratio of KOH and heat it and cool it. You will under spread it, cast it. You will get a sheet. You will get a sheet something like this. Whatever the area and thickness, you can manipulate by manipulating the ratio as well as the viscosity. You will get a sheet. Cut it to the required size, maybe a coin cell or any pouch type or whatever the size shape you want. That will become your separator as well as the electrolyte. You already have a current collector carbon, then you have a dove. Okay, apply the dove on the current collector, take your membrane or this PBA, add another carbon electrode, then your supercapacitor device is done. So neatly tie it, or if you use this coin cell, you can crimp it. For flexible, this coin cell may not be useful, but for flexible, you have to use this carbon substrate. General protocol to make a solid state device, solid state supercapacitor, and are flexible supercapacitors. These are all required in special applications. So many a time, ready to use electrodes can be prepared by applying electrochemical technique. We used to have this practically. When if you would have had offline classes, we would have had practical exactly like this. So this is the substrate I'm talking about. So here this is a stainless steel. Instead of stainless steel, you can go for aluminum, platinum, nickel, nickel mesh, gas, etc. or carbon. This is stainless steel, believe me. So stainless steel, there are different grades depending on the corrosion and resistance. 503 grade, which is having better conductivity and good corrosion resistance, typically used in electrochemical depositions. So the surface is highly smooth. It will not be possible to attach anything. So you have to make it as a rough surface. You take emery paper or sandpaper, you go on rubbing. So that smooth surface becomes rough surface so that you increase the surface area. So, smooth surface has no surface area or less surface area, and rough surface has a more surface area. Higher the surface area, maybe better the adherence, better the material you can adapt or apply. So this is your substrate. Then I don't know how many of you can recognize what material it is. It is nickel hydroxide. You believe it or not? Nickel hydroxide. How will you deposit nickel hydroxide? We need to have some nickel source, nickel 2+ source. So I take maybe nickel nitrate in the bath. Here, this is cobalt anyway. So if it is a nickel, it would be green, cobalt. So this is your working electrode stainless steel, and this blue electrode is the reference electrode, and this is a platinum wire is a counter electrode. Reference electrode, counter electrode, working electrode. 3 electrode cell. Then you do some methods, cyclic voltammogram, potentiodynamics, etc. You get deposition of nickel hydroxide. And here you don't need to have any other paste preparation, etc. It is already ready-made available. Electrodes are ready-made available. As such, you can use it for. If it is a battery material, you can make it as a battery, or if it is a supercapacitor material, you can use it for a supercapacitor device. So if you are making 2 identical electrodes, you are going to make symmetry. One electrode nickel hydroxide, another one instead of nickel hydroxide, you paste carbon, make a device, it is asymmetric supercapacitor. Anyway, after doing charging, discharging, So the material changes. Nickel hydroxide becomes nickel oxyhydroxide. So the color is no longer green, different. Ready to use electrodes can be prepared by employing electrochemical technique instead of going for physical methods of making electrodes. So this is the 3 electrode cell. So this cell volume is about 25 volume. You can have any number of volume. Anyway, concentration on that amount of ions should matter, volume. What is important is commercial level or conventional supercapacitors. Maybe in the form of a coin cell or cylindrical or pouch type. This is the important for commercial applications. So one of the commercially used coin cell type is this CR2032. I'm sure you know about this, the specification of CR2032. CR is circular, round, circular. 2032. 20 is 20 millimeter. This width is, diameter is 20 millimeter, roughly 2 centimeter. Then 3.2 mm is width, this width, 3.28. 3.28, roughly 3.28 width. And the whole mass weighs about 3.6 gram. 3.6 gram. This is only your cases. What are there inside? These are there inside. There is a bottom case, there is a top case, there are 2 phasers, variants, and this variant is to avoid the short circuit between the top case and the bottom case. And here in this, you will attach your electrode material. One side, maybe positive electrode, another side, cathode material, negative side. I mean, positive side. These are all spaces so that when you crimp it, when you finish the electrode, when you finish the device, so to, not to avoid the short circuit or not to undergo deformation, these springs are used. They will withstand the pressure. Then you get supercapacitor device. Same thing is used for battery also. Same thing is used for battery also. How it is done? This is how it is done. So take a electrode, make the electrode material, make it as a paste, apply it on a current collector, conductor, maybe a carbon cloth or nickel foil, aluminum foil, gauze, etc. So to make a coin cell, you crimp some portion. So that will go inside exactly. It should go inside this. So typically the size of this electrode will be of this much size. Crimp it, 2 electrodes, anode side and cathode side, or positive side, negative side. So then you have a separator. If you want to make a solid state, make a gel electrolyte, semi-solid. Then, so take 1 electrode, add separator, another electrode, finish it, crimp it. So final is crimp it. Then you have done it. It is so coin type or button type supercapacitor is ready. So the problem with the coin type or button type supercapacitor is we cannot have more materials. So it means it will not be possible to have a large capacitance. Limited capacitance with the small coin cell. So if you want to have a more capacitance, so better to go for cylindrical type capacitor or condensers. You have seen it. Cylindrical type, maybe like this. Like this. How to make this cylindrical type capacitor? So slurry up to this is same, or up to coating this is same. You make a material, make a slurry and apply it on the current collector. It may be a foil, aluminum foil or nickel foil or carbon cloth or platinum foil, etc. It should have some specificity, very thin, so that resistance is less. Okay. affordable, corrosion resistance, conductivity, stability in the electrolyte. All those are the features it should be having. So the slurry that has to be applied, dried, it has to be dried, then you have to roll it along with the separator, Here in the case of coin cells, it was one electrode. It was easy to make a separator and add another electrode. Here, first you take one positive electrode, then a separator, another electrode, then go on rolling. By doing so, what we are doing, we are having more amounts of active material that can be inserted into the cell or container. Because this much area, large area, but in the coin cell only 2 centimeter area only you can have it. And you cannot stack also in coin cell because it will not be possible to crimple it. But this advantage of this cylindrical type capacitor is you can have one A4 sheet. So anyway, the width is less only. So depending on the size, so this much width, definitely. And you can roll it, one A4 sheet length. That much area you can have, that much active material you can put in. So that you can, this is what you can see here. Cathode layer, electrolyte layer, anode layer, you can stack it. Roll it and compactly so that contact resistance. There is an automatic machine to do this. If you do with our hand, definitely we will have more resistance. There is a compacting machine, rolling machine, automatic. With the minimum resistance, it can roll. So then it can be inserted, then finally seal it, label it, and it is done. You believe it or not, all these processes are automatic. There are many companies, ventures, they make these supercapacitors. Elna is one of the popular companies. Gold Cap. I don't know, last year there was a mobility. So Elon Musk, he has bought one big supercapacitor company, Boost Cap. You know, so he is making a Tesla electric vehicles. The electric vehicle requires a supercapacitor in order to boost the power, maybe to start the vehicle. Or when the vehicle is on the uphill, you require more than required power. So you require boost capacitors. So I think I have some information later. So this is how one can make a supercapacitor. So some of the facilities we have in the department, we have in our lab. Maybe if offline classes are open, I hope you will be able to witness this capacitor. Maybe few of you may work on this if the online classes are opened, maybe next semester, or in the final semester. Okay, so anything would like to add? Is it hard to follow? We'll go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so now let us concentrate some specific materials. Generally, we know that carbon materials, oxides, hydroxides, and composites can be used as an electrode material for supercapacitors. Carbon materials, they show only double layer capacitance. There are no redox reactions. Whereas oxides, peripheral transition metal oxides, nickel oxide, cobalt oxide, iron oxide, copper oxide, perovskite oxides, cerium oxides, they all show some peaks, redox material. Hydroxides, cobalt oxide, hydroxide, nickel hydroxide, or LDH, nickel manganese LDH, or zinc aluminum double hydroxides, they all also will have redox peaks. Composites, mostly current currently most of the electrode materials examined are, it's a composite. Mostly, more than 50 to 80% of the material being examined in the literature, in the research, are composites. Maybe a polymer and oxide, carbon and polymer, carbon and oxide, carbon and hydroxide, graphene and oxide, carbon nanotube and oxides, carbon nanotube and sulfides. Any combination of more than one material is composite. Whether you will call it as a nanohydroxides, nano-oxides, nanocomposites, it depends on the grain size. So I'll take another maybe 5 minutes and I will wind up today. So this is one fine material that we have recently reported, cobalt chromium LDH. Cobalt chromium layered double hydroxide. And RGO. Then we have its composite, cobalt chromium LDH. You see here, cobalt chromium has limited power density as well as energy density. RGO has higher energy density and power densities. If you combine both of them, it is possible to lift the specific energy of cobalt chromium LDH. And also you can increase the power densities. Energy density is afforded by this LDH and power density is afforded by this RGO, so that you get an increased energy density and power densities. And this was made very much in our lab, in our department. And this is the typical device. This is the typical flexible supercapacitor that was made in the lab. Maybe 2 years before, one of our MTech students have done that. Your seniors have done this. And using which a 2.7 LED can be glown or lighted up. And believe it or not, so this cobalt chromium LDH was deposited electrochemically, ready to use electrodes. These are the carbon substrates. This is another solid state device. The material that we have used was nickel oxide along with the RGO as a positive electrode and RGO as a negative electrode, and we have used PBA KOH as the solid electrode. How much is the energy density? As high as 15 watt-hour per kg, much better than the conventional capacitor. How much is the power density? 4000 watt per kg. What is the device size? It's about 1 by 1 centimeter. There are 3 supercapacitors here connected in series, and it could light this LED for more than 5 hours or some hours, some minutes. Nickel hydroxide. And this nickel hydroxide was prepared by Salgel method. RGO was prepared by Hammer's method. I don't know whether you are aware of that or not. You take both of them some proportion and you make a composite. This another material, nickel oxide along with the MOS2. These are all asymmetric capacitors. Again, 3 electrodes. Now, in this case, it was 15 watt-hour per kg. Now the energy density has been increased to as high as 80 watt-hour per kg by moving towards another material, molybdenum sulfide. Power density is little increased. Instead of 4000, now 5000 watts. This is nearly commercial or conventional capacitors that was made in our lab using this material, nickel ferrite as a cathode and RGO as a negative electrode. Coin cell we have made 3 such coin cells. So can be made as a working device. So I'll stop now. Maybe one more class to go for the supercapacitors. It's mostly some history of supercapacitors. After that, we'll wind up. If anything would like to add, anything, you can do so.
Sir,
Yes, please.
Sir, instead of supercapacitor, we can use the simple capacitor.
Instead of supercapacitor, we can use
Use the simple capacitor.
yes, we can use. We can use. Why? So what is the difference between normal capacitor and a supercapacitor? Only difference is you get a higher capacitance. That's all. Maybe higher energy, higher power density also. Why you want to use a lithium ion battery when you have a lead acid battery? Because lithium ion battery having more energy. The same reason.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Can we use carbon aerosol in supercapacitor? Very much. Very much we can use carbon aerosol. Not only carbon aerosol, you make a material aerosol of any material. You can very much use it. So only requirement with the carbon is it should have more surface area so that you will get EDLC capacitance larger. Yes. How will you make aerogel? Use Sol-Gel method. We have seen last semester. Anything else you would like to add?
Sir,
Yes, please.
sir, is there any use of nanomaterials in the capacitor, sir?
Very much, very much. Currently, most of the materials that are being reported are nanomaterials. And if you use nanomaterial, definitely EDLC capacitance is going to be larger because nanomaterials have a larger surface area. And if they happen to be a Faraday material, still you are going to get advantages. Better electrochemical reaction can take place because all the materials will undergo redox reaction. Definitely nanomaterials has a definite role in supercapacitor. You are going to get high capacitance, high energy density, power densities. Very much. And the nanocomposites, different, almost behave as a different material, definitely. Nanocomposites are polymer and graphene, nanocomposite. Nanocomposites are nickel oxide and RGO. You have seen, I have shown you. Very much, very much. You can use nanomaterials. Not only graphene oxide, CNT, carbon nanotube, multi-walled, single-walled, whatever. Combined with molybdenum sulfide or nickel oxide, oxides, polymers, we're going to get better capacitance. Hybrid material, we name it as a hybrid materials. Combination of more than one material. Blended material, composites, normal word. Yes, please.
Sir, in cyclic voltammetry, the interpretation of results is varied for supercapacitor, PHL, and battery.
In cyclic voltammetry, Praveen, repeat please.
Sir, in cyclic voltammetry, the interpretation of results, sir.
So yeah, it is nearly same for battery and supercapacitors. If we have a peak, the peak indicates that there is a redox reaction. If the material is a battery material, then it is a battery. Otherwise, you call it as a Faraday material. Interpretation is nearly same in terms of supercapacitor. I mean, cyclic voltammeter. Maybe charge discharge profile interpretation also nearly same between supercapacitor and the battery. Only difference is in supercapacitor you get a very symmetric charge discharge curve. So it means charging and discharging curves are nearly equal, 100% Coulombic efficiency. In the case of battery, you may not get a Coulombic, symmetric profile. There may be a difference, disproportionate. Charging time will be larger, discharging time will be little less, provided if you keep the same constant current. Interpretation is nearly same in terms of charging and discharging curves and the cyclic voltammeter. And in the case of EDLC, you don't get any peak, only profile you will get. Rectangular or ellipsoid, deformed circular profile, you get it. Interpretation is nearly same for both. If you would have carefully noticed, most of the content for battery and supercapacitors are nearly same. Only narrow difference. Only narrow difference. And one point I would like to mention. So when we have a Faraday material and intended to use for supercapacitor, will there be any contribution of double layer capacitance? Let's say one specific example. We have seen now nickel oxide, cobalt hydroxide, or nickel ferrite. You take any Faraday material, cerium oxide also, okay, or polymer also you can take. And if you do cyclic voltammeter, definitely you will see a peak, at least one peak you will see, forward peak and backward. And use that as a electrode material. And it is a Faraday material or supercapacitor material having redox features. Whether will it have some double layer capacitance is the question. What would be your response? In the case of carbon, we can't expect any redox peak. Most of the charge storage is by the EDLC behavior, double layer formation. But how about in the case of nickel oxide or nickel hydroxide or PANI or RGO? All these materials, they have a definite Faraday reaction. Along with that, will there be any double layer contribution? What is your response? Definitely there will be some contribution. But that contribution is almost insignificant when you compare to the capacitance that you can get from the redox behavior. So if the redox capacitance is 400, your double layer capacitance may be 10. 410, one order difference is almost negligible. And you can quantify that. There is one fundamental aspect of people do that. How much is the redox contribution? How much is the double layer contribution? You can quantify very much using your cyclic voltammeter. And so from the peak currents of cyclic voltammeter, you can do this. So that and all for research. I don't want to elaborate on that. So generally, interpretation of the cyclic voltammeter and the charge-to-charge profile for a battery and a supercapacitors are nearly same. Only their patterns are different. Anything else? Anything else? So if not, thank you. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.